In today's episode, we're going to focus on a cheat sheet that is going to serve you very well throughout this cycle this year and beyond. We'll be talking about the bull, pre-bull, first bull, and second bull cycles, or as we have come to know them, the specific phases in the 4-year cycle that we're now seeing break beyond the 4-year cycle resistance. So subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoy videos like this going forward, and let's dive right into it. So every single cycle has a bear phase, and you can see here that it occurs every few years or so. This is where we tend to see a year of downside price action before we finally bottom. This is where we see a year's worth of downtrending price action. A bear market tends to occur, and you can see here that 2022, 2018, and 2014, these are all candle 2s in the 4-year cycle. So this is where we tend to see the most depreciation before we finally bottom out into the bear market bottom and then begin candle 3. And candle 3, as you can see, this is the candle 3 that bottoms. And this is what you see across time: 2015, 2012, 2019, 2023. And it's during these years, these are typically the pre-bull phases. And so 2015, you can see lots of sideways price action. 2023 as well, just moving sideways after that initial pump. But we'll talk about 2023 in a lot more detail as we update this portion of the chart and also 2024. But generally speaking, we tend to see meandering price action within a pre-bull phase. But this, of course, transitions us into the 2016, 2020, 2024 phase, which is typically your candle 4. And these are your halving years. And of course, this is 2012 here. 2012, this is because of the cycle being a little bit different and focusing on the mid-cycle correction. And of course, 2011 had a very limited amount of price history, and so you can't quite equate 2011 to these bear cycles. But having said that, 2016, 2019, 2020, and 2024, these are your candle 4 years of the halving, and you can see that these are candle 4 that tend to break beyond the 4-year cycle resistance that has been resisting price for 3 years at a time. And of course, we've done that, and we're also very close to breaking to new all-time highs in this candle 4, very similar to what we saw in 2020, where we also broke to new all-time highs in that candle 4, the halving year. And then we get to the most euphoric, or historically this has been the most euphoric cycle. This is slightly changing over time. 2013, 2017, 2021, and 2025, this is where we see a bull market peak. And if we go on to just separate these two phases, first bull and second bull, well, the first bull is the halving year. And in the past, we've seen the least growth here in this portion of the bull market, and we've seen the most growth in the second bull. But as you'll see, candle 4, for instance, in 2016 and candle 4 in 2020, well, we're seeing maybe this is slightly changing over time, because candle 4 is the first bull and candle 1 is the second bull. But you can see how this has changed across cycles, and maybe we're getting something quite similar in this respect, where candle 4 is going to be quite powerful and candle 1 is going to be less powerful. So we're seeing a changing in the guard, where it's no longer candle 1 that's the most exponential. Maybe candle 4 is becoming the most exponential, and candle 1 sees that trend continuation, but gets us to that bull market peak before we finally simply end the 4-year cycle and begin a new one. So the end of a 4-year cycle is candle 1, where we bull market peak, and then we see a bear market correction, the candle 3 once again, and then candle 4. So this has been a fantastic schematic that we made a video on in 2023, and you can see that this is sideways price action, and 2024 isn't even filled out here. But let's move on right over here, because this schematic was looking at this sideways range right over here. This sideways reaccumulation range corresponds to essentially this pre-bull phase in the 2023 year. And so we've seen a breakout into 2024, and this is essentially 2024, simply seeing further upside, even forming a reaccumulation range, but still breaking to those new highs. This cycle, of course, is special. We're seeing ETFs and the halving, two major catalysts, impact the dynamics of supply and demand like we've never seen in the past before. But if we even look at this 2024 schematic, we know what's going on in 2024, but typically, even in these halving years, we see upside. We see a lot of upside. And of course, earlier on in the price history for Bitcoin, but we've never quite seen upside like we're seeing right now in this halving year. We're simply breaking almost to those old all-time highs, which is pretty spectacular to see. But still, the best lays ahead, because we tend to see fantastic upside going even into 2025. And you can see, even looking at 2017, how uninterrupted the uptrend is. Same in 2013 and also 2021, which gets us to that bull market peak before we finally top out in that bull market. So we're still going to see a lot of upside, many months, several months of upside going into 2025. But it's really important to note that we are going to see an explosive candle fall as we've been seeing. And if we break to new all-time highs, then price discovery lays ahead. But candle one is going to be the candle where we simply peak and form an upside wick. And you can see here, candle one, upside wick, candle one, upside wick here as well. And based on this upside wick, we see a lower high develop in candle two. So we see a lower high resistance develop as we transition from candle one to candle two. And in this cycle, for instance, we still saw an upside wick, but this was so much sharper than what we've seen in the past before, right over here. So that candle one does lay ahead, but we still have so much more upside to enjoy, simply because of, for instance, this chart. You can see around the halving event, we see upside in the pre-halving rally phase, of course, pre-halving retrace. But then if we really look towards the future, it's after the halving, many months after the halving, where we see parabolic upside. And it's during this parabolic upside where you don't really see much downside occur. You get a few dips on the way up, but those are the best opportunities to simply load up, going into that price discovery and searching for that final new all-time high. Bitcoin simply makes new all-time highs every single week, essentially. That's the phase that still lays ahead, or at least that has been many months after halving. It looks like we're already getting to that phase a lot quicker and sooner than ever before. So really interesting to see how this halving year is going to be a historic halving year, and how we're still in the pre-halving rally phase. We're halfway through this pre-halving rally phase, and a few weeks before is typically where we see a pre-halving retrace, but that's still down the line. Nonetheless, this schematic can be a useful cheat sheet for 2024 and beyond, because it helps us understand that we're only in the very first phase of the bull market. It's in the first half of this phase where things have typically geared up and prepared for an uninterrupted uptrend. But it looks like in this cycle, we're already getting to old all-time highs a lot quicker than usual. And still we have all of this upside going into 2025. So the rest of 2024 is simply going to be very, very interesting. And Bitcoin still has a lot of room to grow in the coming months and going into 2025 as well. That's about it for today's video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoyed this content going forward, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.